Okay, that Nike swoosh. Just picture it for a second.
Instantly recognizable. Anywhere in the world.
Yeah, it's so much more than just, a logo. It really stands for something, an ethos almost.
Hmm.
And that's the story we're really diving into today here on the Deep Dive. It all comes back to Phil Knight's memoir, Shoe Dog.
Exactly. We're using Knight's own words here. Well, it's a fantastic look back at the grit it took to build Nike.
Right.
So our mission for this deep dive, it's to pull out those key insights from his journey, the core ideas that, weren't just luck, they were fundamental.
Foundational to how Nike got so huge. And these are lessons that you can actually use, right? Whether you're starting something new or just trying to figure out your own path.
Absolutely. And let's be really clear. This wasn't some, overnight thing.
Not at all. Knight struggled with, well, pretty much everything. Those early days, scraping together money.
The capital hunt. And the constant headaches with manufacturing overseas.
It's a good reminder, actually. Even the biggest successes often come from a really long, sometimes messy climb.
Definitely. So we've kind of distilled his story down into some key lessons and some really great quotes, too.
Okay, so where did it all start? It began with what he called a crazy idea, didn't it?
Yeah, and it's fascinating what sparked it. We're talking the early 1960s. Knight's just finished his MBA,
Okay.
and he sees Japanese cars starting to make inroads in the U.S. market. And he just has this thought,
Why not shoes?
athletic shoes specifically, which, at the time, the whole market was dominated by these German giants, Adidas, Puma.
Right, so thinking Japanese shoes could compete, that was kind of crazy. A real David versus Goliath situation he was imagining.
It really was. Talk about seeing an opportunity where, well, maybe nobody else did.
And it wasn't just a passing thought either. He actually, got on a plane, went to Japan.
He did, which
Yeah.
must have felt incredibly audacious back then.
I bet. And like so many startups, it involved asking his dad for a loan, right?
Yeah. That trip, that was the real starting point. He somehow managed to cut a deal to import Tiger running shoes.
Okay, so that's the very beginning. Blue Ribbon Sports.
That's it, Blue Ribbon Sports. And you can't talk about those early days without mentioning Bill Bowerman.
Ah, the legendary track coach, University of Oregon.
The very same. Bowerman was obsessed with innovation, always tinkering with shoes, trying to give his runners an edge.
So you had Knight's business sense, his drive.
And Bowerman's obsession with performance and design. That combination, that was the magic, really.
Even though, as you said, those first years were incredibly tough. We're talking, almost 2 decades where they were basically teetering on the edge?
It really drives home that success just isn't linear, We see Nike now, this global behemoth.
Yeah, it's easy to forget.
Easy to forget the sheer persistence it took. Getting funding was a constant battle. Just getting consistent orders was tough. Problems with manufacturers, it was nonstop.
It really shows that huge achievements often come after weathering, really long periods of struggle.
Which leads us neatly into some of those core lessons from Shoe Dog.
Okay, lesson 1 really jumped out at me. Chase a calling, not a career. I mean, think about it. Stanford MBA, safe accounting job, and he walks away to sell shoes, literally out of the trunk of his car.
That says a lot, doesn't it? About prioritizing work that actually meant something to him. Something creative, engaging.
Even when the money wasn't there. Or was really uncertain, at least.
That internal drive, that passion, that's what fueled him through all those incredibly lean years. It wasn't just about the bottom line.
And that connects right into lesson number 2, pursue your crazy idea.
We touched on it, the Japanese shoes idea.
But really think about how improbable that sounded. Early 60s, going up against these massive established European companies.
It wasn't just thinking outside the box. It was like questioning if the box even needed to be there.
Right.
It just shows the power of having a unique vision. Not being afraid to challenge how things are normally done. Often those ideas that seem the most, out there.
They have the biggest potential.
Exactly. For disruption, for real innovation.
Now, obviously, a journey like Nike's, it's going to have bumps, major bumps.
Oh, absolutely.
So lessons 3 and 4 deal with this directly. Success does not come easily, and failure is an opportunity.
Now, these might sound a bit like cliches, maybe.
Yeah, things you hear all the time.
But hearing them from Knight, in the context of Nike's constant early struggles, it gives them real weight.
Definitely. And his attitude towards failure, that's key.
It really is. He didn't see it as, the end. More like data, information, a chance to learn something and get better.
He even said something like, if it all went bust, he'd just start over, but smarter, right?
Yeah, armed with more wisdom. That kind of resilience,
Hmm.
that's just crucial for tackling anything big.
Okay, let's shift to the product itself.
Yeah.
And the brand. There are quite a few lessons here. Number 5, there is value in quality.
Seems obvious, maybe, but Nike, from day one, was about high-performance gear
It wasn't just a selling point, it was like core to who they were.
and that commitment, that focus on quality. It wasn't just about the shoe itself. It built trust, credibility, especially with athletes, their core audience back then,
Laid the foundation for the brand loyalty they have now.
for sure. Then lesson 6, advertising takes many forms.
Right. Knight wasn't big on traditional ads, was he? Not at first, anyway.
No, he preferred getting publicity in other ways. And crucially, signing up influential athletes, like Steve Prefontaine.
Prefontaine.
Yeah, huge name.
And what's smart there is understanding influence. These athletes weren't just like paid spokespeople reading a script.
No, they embodied the whole spirit. Competition, pushing limits, everything Nike wanted to be about.
It felt more authentic, and it created a much stronger connection with the people they were trying to reach.
Then lesson 7, learn from your competition. The whole Nike versus Adidas thing is legendary.
Right. Knight was very open about watching Adidas, understanding what they did well, where maybe they were vulnerable.
And using that intel.
Absolutely. It's a great point about competitors. Don't just see them as the enemy. See them as a source of information.
Yeah, and a benchmark. Something to measure yourself against, to push you. You see it with the athlete endorsements too, right? Jesse Owens was with Adidas early on, Prefontaine with Nike.
Yeah.
It highlights that rivalry.
Okay, moving on. Lessons 16 and 17 really hit on connection. Understand the importance of storytelling and know your audience.
Nike's marketing. It's always been brilliant at this, telling stories.
Stories of athletes, yeah. Achievement, struggle, overcoming things,
Yeah.
pursuing your best.
And notice, they rarely just listed shoe features, right? They tapped into something deeper, the emotional core of what their audience cared about, what they aspired to.
It wasn't just buy these shoes. It was more like believe in your potential.
And knowing their audience so intimately allowed them to craft those messages, those narratives that just resonated so strongly.
Which brings us to lesson 18. Your brand needs to inspire.
It can't just be about making money.
Right. Look at their mission statement now. To bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And then that asterisk.
If you have a body, you are an athlete. It perfectly captures that idea, having a purpose beyond just profit.
It goes back to what you said earlier about Knight wanting meaningful work.
Exactly. That sense of purpose, of offering something more than just a product that's vital for building a brand that lasts, one that people genuinely connect with.
Okay, let's talk about the team. Lessons 9 and 10 cover teamwork and leadership. Knight always seemed careful to credit the people around him.
He really did.
Yeah.
He recognized he didn't do it alone, and he stressed trusting his team, giving them autonomy.
His leadership style?
Yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, he focused on giving direction, the what. Here's the goal.
And then he stepped back,
Pretty much. He empowered these really passionate, smart people to figure out the how.
which probably fostered a lot of creativity and ownership.
Huge commitment. Yeah. Then we have lessons 11 and 20. Perseverance pays off. And the big one. Life is about growth. These feel like the bedrock principles.
They really do.
Yeah.
You think about all those moments, those early years. It would have been so easy to just quit. So many times.
They just kept going.
And that drive, that constant push, wasn't just business for Knight. It was a life philosophy.
Life is growth. You grow or you die. That's a powerful statement.
It sums up his whole approach. Always learning, always evolving, professionally and personally.
Okay, getting practical for a minute. Lessons 12, 13, and 19. A massive project is just many small projects.
So true. Break it down.
Act successful until you become successful. Fake it till you make it, kind of.
A bit, yeah. Projecting confidence, even when you're maybe not feeling it, can actually help build momentum.
And number 19, delivery trumps perfection, especially early on.
Absolutely critical. In those early import days with all the shipping chaos, just getting the shoes delivered consistently on time.
That was way more important than everything being absolutely perfect.
Way more important. Build that reliability first.
Okay, last couple of lessons. 14 and 15 acknowledge things maybe a bit outside your direct control. Travel to gain experience and wisdom.
Knight really believed his early travels opened his eyes, gave him perspective.
And 15. success has an element of luck, which is pretty honest.
It is. He acknowledges that chance, timing, luck, they play a role.
But it's not just luck.
No, that's the key point.
Mm-hmm.
Luck might open a door, present an opportunity.
Hmm.
But it's the hard work, the dedication, the perseverance that puts you in the position to actually walk through that door.
Makes sense. You make your own luck to some extent.
The harder you work, the better your luck, as he put it.
Yeah, that's one of the great quotes from the book. He has so many good ones scattered throughout.
You really do.
Like, chase a calling, not a career. We talked about that. And history is one long processional of crazy ideas. Love that one. Really frames that initial spark.
Captures the spirit of innovation, doesn't it?
Totally. And don't tell people how to do things. Tell them what to do and let them surprise you with their results. That perfectly sums up his leadership style we discussed.
Classic Knight. Trusting the team.
And of course, life is growth. You grow or you die. And that pragmatic one you just mentioned, put it this way, the harder you work, the better your luck.
Each one really distills a core piece of his experience, his philosophy.
And what's amazing is, yeah, they come from building Nike, but they feel so universal. You can apply them almost anywhere.
Definitely. They offer real wisdom, whatever you're trying to achieve.
So let's wrap this up. Thinking about this whole deep dive into Shoe Dog, what are maybe the top 2 or 3 takeaways, especially for, our listeners who want these insights efficiently?
Okay. I think number 1 has to be pursuing that calling. Finding something you're genuinely passionate about, not just a job. That passion fuels resilience.
Right. You need it for the tough times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Second, understanding that real success takes time. It's a long game. And those setbacks, they're not failures, they're learning opportunities. Embrace them.
Good perspective shift.
And third, I'd say the importance of building whatever you're doing, a brand, a project, anything around a core purpose, something that resonates, provides value beyond just the surface level.
Passion, perseverance through setbacks, and purpose. That's a powerful combo.
I think so.
And it all started with that crazy idea. So maybe a final thought for you listening. What crazy idea is rattling around in your head right now?
Good question.
And maybe more importantly, what's one small thing, just one tiny step you could take towards it? Maybe even today, reflecting on Phil Knight's story. What does growth really look like in your own life right now?
And look, if this discussion, this deep dive into Phil Knight's journey in Shoe Dog sparked your interest.
You should definitely read the book.
Absolutely. We've only scratched the surface here. It's a truly fantastic read, compelling, inspiring, and just packed with even more detail and hard-earned wisdom. Highly recommended.